We are in the middle of the Sicha. We're learning from Likutei Sichos, volume 27, and we're going to be on page 272 in that volume. If you want to use the original, our copies here, we're also on page 272. So Likutei Sichos, volume 27, page 272, and we're holding chapter 7, Zayin. Okay, so we're in middle. We got into the explanation on the story of Rabba and Rab Zera. We explained that what happened was that Rabba and Rab Zera celebrated Purim together, and what were they doing? They were discussing and learning the secrets of Torah, the mysteries of Torah, and talking about God. And because of that, they reached a point of this deep yearning to expire into godliness, to lose themselves in godliness. Now, Rabba, who is teaching Rab Zera, Rabba, which his name Rabba implies greatness, being of bigger capacity. So Rabba was able to handle what they were studying, and it wasn't causing him to lose his senses. Whereas Rab Zera, the word Zera implies smallness or a limited capacity, or less at least. Rab Zera certainly was a great sage, but not on the same level as Rabba. For him, it was overwhelming, and so he was completely lost in this great, in what they were studying, and in this great yearning to connect with Hashem. And that's what it means then, that Rabba was the one who was Shachta le Rab Zera. That Rabba, term Shachta, which means literally, and the simple understanding it is Shachta, meaning that he slaughtered him. But we're saying no, Shachta doesn't mean that he slaughtered him, it means he pulled him towards him. Rabba was reaching higher, was climbing higher, and he was taking Rab Zera along with him for the ride. The problem was that Rab Zera couldn't handle it, and so therefore he expired. And he actually experienced Kales HaNefesh, a total melting away of his soul, leaving the body. So there was here, so this explains the main issue that we've had in the story, which is how could Rabba cause Rab Zera's death. So again, we're not talking about an act of violence. There wasn't a knife, and there wasn't a slitting of throats, and there wasn't anything like that God forbid occurred. But on the other hand, remember, we had a problem with this. We said the story had to be taken literally, it has to be understood literally as well. So here it works, in that it was literally, Rab Zera did expire. He did die from the experience. And it was Rabba who brought it about, but as a result of trying to bring Rab Zera along with him to his level. And we explained there was also drinking involved, which is why the story is brought to support the statement of Rava that precedes in the Gemara about drinking on Purim, because drinking, so first of all, obviously we know that drinking represents the understanding or delving into the esoteric part of Torah. But there's also literal drinking. We quoted, remember, from the Shalah, who explains that some of the great sages would drink, and the reason for the drinking was that would give them a little bit of extra joy, and that extra joy would propel them, compel them to continue to delve into secrets of Torah and teach things that they otherwise would not be inclined to teach. So even here, though, in that understanding, we're not talking about excessive drinking. Right? There's some drinking. There's a drinking that maybe, that helps that experience, the literal drinking as well, which is also equating it back to the story of Nadav and Avihu, where we explained that Nadav and Avihu, also they came into the Beis Hamikdash drunk, but that wasn't the issue. The drinking was only a sort of a physical expression of what it is that they were really doing, which was their spiritual experience, and that yearning to come close to God. So there is a certain element of actual drinking, literally drinking, to help in that process. But for that, it doesn't require excessive drinking. We're not talking about drinking like in a vulgar fashion. Okay, so now we can get into chapter 7. So now that we've explained and really the key component here, which was the issue of Rab Zera's death and Rabba Shachtei Rab Zera, Rabba shechting him. Now we've explained that there was an actual death, and that Rabba's shchita of Rab Zera was that he was elevating him, trying to bring him up to a level that he couldn't handle. So now we can explain the other details in the story. So in the Gemara, the story says, "Kam Rabba shachtei Rab Zera." The Rabba he stood up, that he got up, which a simple reading would mean that it was like sort of premeditated, which sort of an actual act. Yeah, he went ahead and he got up and did it. Which is weird if we're simple understanding is that he was completely drunk and didn't know what he was doing. So the getting up would be right, but that getting up would not be a premeditated. It wouldn't be like a. So on one hand, kam means that you did it deliberately, But if he's drunk, you don't really do anything deliberately. Maybe he's more of an accident, right? So the Rebbe explains like this. A different question, which is, what's the difference? He stood, he was sitting. What's the difference of what his position was when he did it? That Kam means that he reached a higher level. Since we're talking about Rabba and Reb Zera reaching a higher level of divine awareness in their meal, they're sitting and talking about godliness and losing themselves in godliness. So that's why there was Kam. When did it happen that Rabba does this to Reb Zera? It's in a time when he was ascending, when he was reaching higher. The word Kam also, like the in the other Sicha, it says about but it says in Chumash, it says by Avram when he purchased Chevron, the plot of the Maris Machbela, he purchases the field from Ephraim. So what does it say? Atakom stay Ephraim. The field got up. So Rashi says, what do you mean it got up? Fields don't pick up and move. It changed owners, right? Changed ownership. But Rashi says Tkuma Haisala. The field went from being owned by Ephraim to being elevated in status because now it had an elevated owner, right? So the same idea has come. It reached a higher level. Even though we're talking about Rabba reaching a higher level, but still Rabba being of greater capacity and abilities, even though this was already a step up for him too from his normal level, but he was still able to handle it. Reb Zera, who didn't have this capacity, so when Rabba starts telling Reb Zera what he's experiencing in this ascent, in this higher level of divine awareness, so that causes, it's that act, it's the Kam that leads to the Shachte. So the detail is suddenly integral. It's Rabba's reaching a higher level that brings about him trying to bring the Reb Zera along with him, that causes Reb Zera's soul to leave his body. And also, the idea here is that Rabba is the one who did it to Reb Zera, right? So Rabba shachta Reb Zera. Reb Zera mitzad atzmai lo yaya isa pula kazushi avla kalei sanef. Just relates a little to the question you asked in the last class. Reb Zera himself knows he's living in a post-Nadav and Avihu world. We're living in a world where God says, after the Mishkan, and Hashem says, you need to remain firmly planted in this world. It's not about expiring out of this world. We need to be here, right? So Reb Zera himself wasn't interested in following, not that he wasn't interested, but he was not willing to follow Rabba up there because he knew that he needs to stay grounded and rooted in this reality. So he wasn't ready to come to a point where there's going to be actual kalei nefesh. You're not allowed to drink wine to the point you get intoxicated. Not just physical wine, even in the sense spiritually, to reach a point where you get completely disconnected from the soul disconnects from the body. Relating to what we quoted last week from the Gemara, you have to enter into this with the purpose of coming out of it, not to enter it to lose yourself. Why? Because that we have to have our souls in our bodies. We have to live in this world. But when Rabba starts teaching him things that were too great for him to handle, so Rabba is the one who caused it with Reb Zera. Reb Zera himself wasn't going there on his own. You have to be nichnas v'shalom. You have to make sure that you stay, tethered to the purpose for which you're here. And yet, it's Rabba who caused it. That it's Rabba did. Like, in a way, it implies another issue, which is we don't say negative things about anybody. Right? So, the story, if the effect of the story is, let's say, even according to Rabbeinu Ephraim, that it's teaching us not to drink, not to do what they did, right? Or regardless of whatever the message is supposed to be from the Gemara, is it necessary to single Rabba out? Say they got drunk together, and somebody died. Why do you have to call Rabba out on it? So the point is here that it's a very important part of the whole thing, which is that Reb Zera was going to remain. He wasn't going to go up there himself, that far up, where he couldn't handle it. And it's Rabba who brought that about. But on the other hand, what about Rabba? Still, ultimately, Rabba is at fault here, right? How does he bring Reb Zera to Kalei Nefesh, to this expiration? How could Rabba do this? So fine, Reb Zera wasn't doing it on his own, but why does Rabba do it to him? It's possible that Rabba overestimated Reb Zera He thought maybe they were closer. Rabba was very humble, right? But so maybe he thought that he overestimated him. And yet, even after Rabba realizes he was mistaken, that Rab Zera was not on that level where he can handle it because Rab Zera dies. So lo yehoyez abestira l'tachlis hakavana the neshamas begufim dafka shekein l'mocher la'achrei hapurim kasher kvar avar v'holach hamatzav agilei amiyuchad hapurim boi rachmi va'achrei v'hesem l'kavana al yen neshamas begufim dafka. So what happened was that even after Rabba realizes that he overestimated Rab Zera, still he wasn't immediately bothered by it. Because ultimately, maybe in his mind, he's thinking that Rab Zera now is having the ultimate Purim experience. Purim, we're going to see, is all about that losing yourself, no self-awareness, completely being lost in godliness. Rab Zera experienced it to the ultimate level. Rabba knows that he could bring him back the next day. So even after he brought him there, which had he known maybe to begin with, he wouldn't have brought him there. That he wouldn't bring him to that level of Klei Nefesh. But now, after the fact, we'll bring him back. It's not a contradiction. Now, Rabba couldn't do this himself, reach a high level for himself, where he would expire because you can't bring yourself back. So Rabba is not able to go too far. But Rab Zera, who has Rabba, supervising, Rabba could bring him back. And that's also why he only did it the next day. Lamacher, that's a question we asked. Why is it that only the next day? Especially, you imagine you're so drunk that God forbid something really bad happens. You know what happens when you're seized with a terror and a fear? You sober up, right? Yayin kasher pachad mefigoy. Fear sobers a person up. Rabba was so drunk that and some of the commentators explain, he was too drunk. That was after he sobered up. But does that make sense that he should do something like that and not sober up? And it's only the next day that he revives him. The point is here that Rabba says, perfect. We wouldn't have done this had I known this was going to happen. But now that it's happened, I can bring you back. Rabba, as the Gemara says, Antoninus, the Roman emperor, says to Rebbe that I know that Zutris Shebechem B'chaim Esim, even the smallest of your sages can resurrect the dead. Right? There's a story of the Gemara about Chanina ben Chama, who was a Talmud of Rebbe, and he resurrected one of Antoninus' guards. So he wasn't even surprised. He says, I know that even, one of the students, even the smallest of your students could resurrect. So this idea of resurrecting, Rebbe, and that happened a lot before, that's in time of Tanoim, not Amoraim. I don't know if the same thing could be a blanket statement on the Amoraim, but certainly somebody like Rabba of that stature, the Gemara says elsewhere that Rabba actually created a person. So that wasn't breaking news. If that's the case, then why then did he need extra mercy, divine mercy? Do what you do, and that's it. So he had to ask for mercy to revive him. Also, that once the neshama leaves the body and goes up to heaven, it's very difficult to try and convince the soul to come back down to this world. Sorry? Rav. Yeah. Yeah. So this is ultimately Rabba, like we mentioned before. Rabba is the one who does it because Rab Zera himself couldn't revive himself. Rabba was able to do it, but he needed special rachmanas. He had to ask for rachamim, for compassion, for mercy from above, because once the neshama goes up above and starts tasting the sha'achas shel keiras ruach ba'elam haba mikol chay elam haza, so it's very hard to get him to come back down. So that's why he needed. That was the miracle. The miracle wasn't the resurrection. The miracle was to convince the soul to come back, especially if it expires in such an experience, in such a state. So Valpisa Yuvan Gam Hemshich Sipra Gemara. Well, they weren't preparing a funeral. He was bringing him back.
If someone who dies that way doesn't get the house, you stay with the clothes on.
Oh, okay. You're saying, you weren't asking. Okay. Pisa Yuvan Gam Hemshich Sipra Gemara Lashana Amar Le Neise Mar V'Navi Tzudas Purim Ba'adei Adadi Amar Le B'Chol Shaita V'Shaita Misrachish Nisa. So now we can understand the end of the story here, where Rabba invites Rab Zera again to come celebrate with him again. We said he's not remorseful. He doesn't apologize. Did something bad happen the year before? What? Now we can understand what happens, why Rabba invites him, and Rab Zera's strange answer, which is not remember what happened last year. He's like, not every year is there a miracle. In other words, on his own, he's ready to go through it again. He can't guarantee there will be another miracle. The miracle, like we said, that the soul should be willing to come back. Not only was Rabba didn't not feel bad and remorseful for what happened the year before, which we'll get to that. We'll get to that story soon. That Rabbi Avram the Malach was the son of the Maggid of Mizrich. The Maggid of Mizrich was the successor of the Baal Shem Tov. He was the second generation, the successor of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Chassidic movement. The Alter Rebbe was one of his students, was one of the Talmidei HaMaggid, and Rabbi Avram was known as Avram the Malach, Rabbi Avram the angel. He was the Maggid's son, and also became a Rebbe also after his father passed away. And so the Maggid had made an arrangement that the Rabbi Avram should learn with the Alter Rebbe. They should be chavrusas. Rabbi Avram will teach the Alter Rebbe Chassidus, mysticism, and the Alter Rebbe will teach Rabbi Avram Nigla, Gemara, Talmud, and that's what they learned together. It says the Alter Rebbe used to turn the clock back so he could have more time because they had a set time to learn. That's another story. But so at one point, Rabbi Avram almost brought the Alter Rebbe to Kalei Nefesh, to this experience. So it was a near-death experience, and he never apologized for it. We'll get to that story later. So we don't find that anymore. So Rabba, who his minister Reb Zera, Larich Sudas Purim Yachtav B'Shana. He invited Reb Zera to celebrate again. With the intent of doing exactly what he did last year. But if we know, so we said before, Rabba, maybe he overestimated Reb Zera, and he wouldn't have done it had he known what would have happened. But once he did, he knew he could resurrect him. But if now he knows what happened last year, so why would he do it again? Like this, he'll go back and resurrect them again. Or he thought maybe the Reb Zera reached a higher level. Now he could handle it. Maybe again he was overestimating him. In this way, having Reb Zera come and have Kalei Nefesh, he'd have the best of both worlds. This great experience of Kalei Nefesh. To give him that experience once again. Like it says about Rabbi Akiva, he wanted to know when he can have Mesiras Nefesh. It was something he yearned for. Certainly Kalei Nefesh would be something to strive for. It would be a great experience to want to have. And he wanted it. The reason he was ready to go ahead and have another Purim meal with Rabba. Nevertheless, since the ultimate purpose is souls in bodies, living in this world, not expiring, he felt that once again, if he tastes that, his soul might not want to come back down into the body. Who knows if he'll want to do it again? It says, right? You're forced to live. So imagine, once you experience that Kalei Nefesh, you're going to want to come back. He says, not every year is there can you count on a miracle happening. It's interesting. This brings to mind the story about that tzaddikim that said that they're not going to go. I think Rabbi Ditchev said he's not going to go into Gan Eden till Hashem brings Mashiach. So when you're neshama in a guf, in a body, right? So you could say, but once you go up to heaven, what happens? Eventually, it becomes so pleasurable. What does it say? Think about the Ditchev. He heard kedusha in Gan Eden, and he jumped in. He couldn't contain himself. So even if you recognize that you have to be down here, this is the place on Nefesh. That he remains true to his mission down here in this world. This is the desired form of service and experience on Purim. It's interesting talking about this whole idea of in Shulchan Aruch. It says the Ramah says that the person should drink till v'yishan, until he falls asleep. And when he falls asleep, the Ramah explains, falls asleep, then he doesn't know the difference between Ar Haman and Baruch Mordechai because he's sleeping. The Rambam, interestingly, also paskins like this. And the Rambam, it's interesting, there's a commentary in the Rambam that actually misses a line in the Rambam. He says that he learns the Rambam to hold like Rabbeinu Ephraim, not like Rava, but clear. The Rambam says that a person should drink and v'yishtaker, he should get drunk, v'yiradem, and he should fall asleep. The Ramah says v'yishan. There's another shina, which also means sleep. What's the difference? So the Rebbe points out that the term for sleeping, so the simple meaning of the Rambam is he falls asleep, and he doesn't spell it out like the Rambam does, but you fall asleep, then you don't know the difference between Ar Haman and Baruch Mordechai because you're sleeping. But that's not but the Rambam doesn't say that. The Rambam just says v'yirdam, v'yiradim. You fall asleep. if you look back in Hilchos Yisei the Atayra and the Rambam, when he talks about Nevuah, he talks about prophecy. So over there, the Rambam talks about different levels, miles of Nevuah, different levels of prophecy. And one of the things he says is that a prophet has his experience when he's seized by Tardema. And you see, like in a dream kind of thing, that Moshe Rabbeinu saw, like sort of lucidly, he experienced prophecy. But all the others, it was like in a daze, it was in a like a trance-like state, like in a sleep state. But the term is the same, Tardema. So Tardema is a state that a person could be in that's conducive to prophecy, to incredible outer body divine experience. And that's the term the Rambam uses here. Drink and reach the point of Virada, and reach that point of divine openness and experience. Anyway, Tess. V'yesh l'kasher kol anal. So we can connect everything we said. Im Sipra Chsidim Oidis Rabbeinu Azakim Rabbi Avram HaMalach. Al Pi Ma'amer Azal Milosei Al B'Shai Yakira. The Gemara says, there it's talking about Rav, that Reb Chizda asked anybody who tells me something in the name of Rav, he's going to give him his matnas kona that he has. He's going to give him his 2 oxes. I'll say Al B'Shai Yakira. This is also a teaching of Rav. So he said this is even better than the first one. What's Milosei Al B'Shai Yakira means that the clothing, valuable clothing, are more valuable to the person who's accustomed to wear them. So if you have a certain type of clothing that you wear, you're willing to pay more for it than somebody who's not accustomed to it. It's the same idea. What he was saying, that since you're accustomed to Rav's teachings, you appreciate them more. So relating to us, Chassidim, a story with the Rebbe, we'll appreciate it more. So the story Rabba and Reb Zera is one thing. We appreciate it more here when we connect it. We show a similar story with Alter Rebbe. Kasher Rabbeinu Azaken Igil Rabbi Amagid. When the Alter Rebbe came to his teacher, the Maggid of Mizrich, Sukkam Rabbeinu Azakim Rabbi Avram HaMalach, B'noi Shel Maggid Yilmedu Yachtav, that it was decided that the Alter Rebbe and Rabbi Avram the Malach will study together. Rabbeinu Azakin Yilmed Nigle in Rabbi Avram HaMalach, Rabbi Avram HaMalach Yilmed Teres Chassidus in Rabbeinu Azakin. So the agreement was that Alter Rebbe would teach him Nigla, and Rabbi Avram HaMalach would teach Alter Rebbe Chassidus, because the Alter Rebbe was still new to Chassidus. He had just arrived from Lithuania, from studying, and he was still new to the world of Chassidus. So Rabbi Avram was going to teach him Chassidus. Pam Achas, one time, they learned a very deep Chassidic concept. After learning something so profound and so deep, you could sit down and eat something with butter, no less, something enjoyable. How could you go? That was just a big contrast. It was a stark contrast that he couldn't understand. So Heishav Rabbeinu Azaken, Alter Rebbe responded to him, Shebe'esli muda materis achsidus, hirgu sho'ed ma'at magia ola kalei nefesh. Alter Rebbe says, when we were studying, I felt that in a moment, I'm gone. I'm a goner. Kalei nefesh. V'lachin, and therefore, huchrich lachol bagel im chema, therefore, he felt he had to eat a bagel with butter, to anchor, to tether the soul back to the body. He needed to have some kind of a physical, and in a sense a pleasurable physical experience in order to keep his soul grounded, to remind him that he belongs here in this world. Because the ultimate purpose, God's purpose, is a neshama in a body, not for nothing, but to work this world and to make and to engage in this physical world. So we have the same question here. Rabbi Avram HaMalach Lamed B'Yachad Rabbeinu Azaken, he learned with the Alter Rebbe. They learned the same topic. Therefore, how could it be that the two of them learned the same topic together, and yet only the Alter Rebbe was the one who felt like he was about to expire, to the point that he needed to eat a bagel with butter, to anchor his soul to his body. Rabbi Avram, who taught it to Alter Rebbe, meaning also that he understood this idea in a much deeper way, felt it much deeper than Alter Rebbe, he didn't reach this point. To the point that he was able to go calmly, and he was able to find Alter Rebbe eating. You see there, Avram was in a total state of awareness, in that he was able to go out, find the Alter Rebbe. He wasn't like, rolling around on the floor in ecstasy. He was walking around, and he sees the Alter Rebbe, eating a bagel, and it occurs to him. In other words, he was very lucid in that experience. How could it be two extremes when they're both learning the same thing? So similar to the question about Rabba and Reb Zera. Why is it Rabba was able to handle Reb Zera not? So the explanation is like this. In Yonishal Rabbi Avram HaMalach hu kishmoi malach. What was Rabbi Avram a malach? His MO was that he was a malach. He was referred to as the malach, not for no reason. He was called that by the students of the Magid. As we know that there's a certain a name is telling and teaches us something. So when he's called by name, it wasn't just a random nickname, but it was because it expressed who he was. So he was a malach. He lived, his life was in a sense living above the ground. True, he was also a soul in a body. He had a family, and he was a rebbe, meaning he engaged with people in the physical world. He wasn't living an ascetic life. However, with this, in Yanehu malach, still his thing was he was a malach, meaning he was in the heavens. That's where he lived his life. Since he was always in that status of malach, always in a certain state of ecstasy, that was sort of his regular default state, so therefore he was able to handle it. But without regard to Alter Rebbe, we don't find Alter Rebbe should be referred to as a malach, certainly not regularly. Sometimes Alter Rebbe is referred to as malach Hashem, Aval Toya, or similar titles. Aval Toya Zel Nikba Li is Shem Levoy L'Shmai Shel Rabbeinu Hazaken. It's not something we find that this is how he was called. It wasn't a name that he had. Shem equating, you're not comparing Rabbi Avram and the Alter Rebbe to Rabba and Rabbi Zera. That one was greater capacity, one was lesser capacity. He's talking about their form of service is what he's talking about, not their capacity. But Rabbi Avram, his form of service of Hashem was in the manner of a malach, meaning detached from this world. So even though he was still in this world, but the experience was one that was a little bit separate from the world, and therefore he was able to handle it, whereas the Alter Rebbe was all about the opposite. On the contrary, the purpose of the Alter Rebbe was his life's work, his mission was to bring everything down to this world, to the world of action, and the action is the main thing. As we know the story. We don't have time to get into the story, so we'll just leave it. But the point is, there's a story about how the Alter Rebbe, his main role, his thing was to make Bali Tshuva. Bali Tshuva meaning Tshuva is about bringing it down to this world. The Alter Rebbe, the truth is, he doesn't say it there, but also the Rebbe talks about the name Shner Zalman. Zalman is a name in Targum. Shner is in Hebrew, Lashon Kodesh. Zalman is in Targum, is in Laz, is in Yiddish. And it means Lizman, also to bring it into time and space. The Alter Rebbe was all about drawing into this world. That's where his main service was. And therefore, when he was still at the beginning of entering into the world of Chassidus, especially that it was at that time that it was revealed to him that he had a new soul, the one that had never previously been here before. He had been playing. It's a So the Alter Rebbe, whose whole point was about bringing it down into this world, anchoring into this world, since he was still new to Chassidus, and it was all thrust on him in a very, very overwhelming way, the learning of Chassidus, the fact that he was a new neshama, and his mission, so it was something that brought him to a moment of about to get to Kalei Nefesh, and he had to connect it with something in the physical world, and specifically with something that involved with pleasure in the physical world, but in a positive way, where it anchors the neshama to the body. Yet, and the other question, similar to we asked about Rabba and Rabbi Zera, how is it that Rabba would mistake Rabbi Zera? Why is it that he did this, not aware of what Rabbi Zera's capacity? So Rabbi Avram had to hear this from the Alter Rebbe. He had to hear this explanation from the Alter Rebbe. Even though he himself knew, if he sees the Alter Rebbe eating a bagel, he should have understood why that was. Why was he wondering, and why did he have to tell him? Since the whole, you want to bring me to your level, that I should be like a malach. So the Alter Rebbe says, no, that's not my mission. My mission is a bagel and butter. My mission is to bring everything down here. So I'm not going to be like you. We have to be different. We have a different type of avodah. That's why the Rabbi Avram had to hear this from the Alter Rebbe. In note 49, we don't have time to get into it. Note 49 notes that this story has different versions, but in all the versions of the story that are brought in the Sichas, the three main points are the same. That it was a story with Alter Rebbe and the Malach. It's a story about Kalei Nefesh that the body, the soul had to be anchored to the body, and also the idea of a bagel and butter. So the point is, the message of the story is the same. Well, let's move on. And yet we still have to understand. מכיוון שכל ענייני התורה מרבה ודסה של יהודי מהי העירה שיכולים אנשים כרקנו ללמוד מסיפר הגמרא דס רבא ורב זיירא, סיפר שבו מדובר דס דרגה של קלייס הנפש חולו. Everything needs to be a lesson for us. How could we learn a lesson from this story of Rabba and Rab Zera, two sages that were great, that were beyond our capacity? You talk about people that can be Mechai Mesa, could resurrect. Well, how do we learn something from this? So the Rebbe says, how can we learn from this story of Kaleis HaNefesh, of expiring? How can we have a lesson? What's the takeaway for us? So the Rebbe says, in our generations, in our time, we also find something similar. So he says like this, Rebbe says he heard from Chassidim, Polish Chassidim, about the Modritzer Rebbe. Modritzer Rebbe, I think we're talking about the Rebbe Yisrael of Modritz, the founding Rebbe of the Modritzer dynasty. He had suffered from diabetes. He went to Berlin to the top doctors, and they told him that he needs an operation. So since his heart was weak, they didn't know if he'd be able to handle it. He also was not able to take any anesthesia. And the operation on his leg from the complications was going to be extremely painful. So B'Shamai says, when he heard this, so he said, let me start singing a nigun, and when I get deep into the nigun, then you can start. We know it's known that the Modritzer Rebbe and really the Modritzer dynasty are known for their musical prowess. When he was going to be so involved in the sweetness and the pleasure he'll have from the song, he won't feel what's happening. And then they can go ahead and perform the operation without any concern. He won't feel anything. So that's what happened. He started singing a nigun, and I think this is the nigun that it said that there's a famous thing. The Modritzer composed many nigunim, all the Modritzer Rabbeim, and this nigun he composed. I think it was at that time. At least that's what the story goes. That at that time he composed the Esker Elikim V'Maya. It's the classic nigun of the Modritzer. It's like a 20-minute song that he composed at that time. They sing it once a year on his yard site. It's like and that was. So he went into the nigun and they performed the surgery and he didn't feel anything. So at least in the previous generation, a person can delve into something that he's enjoying so much, he won't feel what's happening with him. We find also a story with the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab once went with his son, with the Friedrich Rebbe. They were in Vienna. They went to they each checked into their own hotel rooms with a room, a shared room that connected their two rooms. So the Friedrich Rebbe goes into the room and he comes into his father's room and he sees that the Rebbe Rashab is sitting on his couch. His eyes are open, but he's not aware of what's happening around him. He comes back an hour later and sees he's in the exact same position. That this happened a number of times, that over the course of several hours, the Friedrich Rebbe keeps coming into his father's room and he's sitting in the exact same place, motionless, exactly in the same way. He sat like that for a number of hours, completely lost in thought, as if he's in a different world. When he came out of that state, he didn't know what day it was, or where they were. The Friedrich Rebbe tells the story that after the Rebbe Rashab, he got nervous. He tried to distract him to try and anyway. But when the Rebbe Rashab came out of it, he started asking him questions, and Friedrich Rebbe could tell from the questions he was asking that he didn't know where he was, what day it was, or any of those things. Friedrich Rebbe says that he pretended to not notice that, and he just answered the questions. But that's how disconnected, in a sense, the Rebbe Rashab had been at that time. He pretended not to notice that's what was going on. And he answered the question simply without implying that he understood that he didn't know what day and where they were. The And it said that later that the Rebbe Rashab would tell the Frierdiker Rebbe that at that time that he was sitting there, that's when he started to formulate the general ideas that formed the basis for Hemshech Ayin Beis, the great long series of Mamarim of the Rebbe Rashab. You could say that this story also is similar to the concept of Kalei Nefesh. That he came out, he didn't know where he was and what time it was, and what day it was, meaning he was totally divorced from time and space. He was totally out of this world. To the point that when he came out of it, he didn't know where and when it was. He said, "This is similar to Kalei Nefesh, completely leaving the boundaries, the limitations of the body." I think this is an important line here. We'll get back to the second. Let's just finish. When we call the moving Inyan the Kalei Nefesh, Metzina begimel deiris mechulakim zemi zebet tachlis. Deirim shel nadav aviu, deirim shel Rabbi v'Rabzeir, deirim shel Rabbi Avrama Malach, v'Rabbeinu Azakin yeshem gam b'derisenu elu, u'mizem moving she'efes katzei v'shem etzmenu, akopanim shayachetz kol achad v'achad Yisrael. The Rebbe brings two stories from the Majitzer and the Rebbe Rashab, who both were the same time period. They were the same age. They passed away the same year. But he says that we see Kalei Nefesh in 3 generations. He doesn't say the 4th. It's interesting. Because it's interesting. We look back at this line. He says, we find Dugma Se'in de Kalei Nefesh, Yitzias HaNefesh Mehagbalis HaGuf. Mitzias Ha'elam Zman HaMakim. He doesn't say the soul leaving the body, death, like we found by Nadav and Avihu, that they went and didn't come back. Or like by Rabbi and Rabzeira, where Rabzeira had to be resurrected. Or like by the Alter Rebbe, where he needed to come to himself through eating a bagel with butter. Those are actual forms of Kalei Nefesh. The stories of the Rebbe Rashab and the Majitzer Rebbe, even though we're talking about Rebbes, we're talking about people not on our level, obviously, at all. But from those experiences, we see that you can still be in the world and still be unaware of what's happening. In other words, the Rebbe, I think, is explaining what Kalei Nefesh means for us. He said, what's the practical takeaway? He's saying Kalei Nefesh means losing your awareness of your physical state, of the state that you're in this world. Being totally absorbed in godliness, without any regard to the world that you're in. Rabbi Yehuda Leib Miyanovich. Madu number of Asirisi is Leiva Evan Mipsarchem, Leib Moyach Evan, Shebachol Akosha Lemoyach Tzarech Adam Lasis Ba'atzmi. Benegel Leiv Yas HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mishkos Asirisi Es Leiva Evan Geimer. So we know that the Alter Rebbe told his brother Rabbi Yehuda Leib Miyanovich that the pasuk says that Hashem will remove this heart of stone from us. So he says he'll remove the heart of stone, not the mind of stone, right? Because the mind, that you have to work on yourself. In other words, we have the capacity to put our minds to it, to get lost in chassidus, and to think about God. And when we think about it, that will cause us to want to be there. And just that wanting to be there already has an effect, even though the heart of stone might still be there.